Hi, I'm Reid Trepp, and this is SoCal Fire News. Today's edition of SoCal Fire, we're going to be doing a report on the Great Chicago Fire. The Great Chicago Fire was a conflagration that burned from Sunday, October the 3rd to early Tuesday, October 10th in 1871, killing hundreds and destroying about 3.3 square miles in Chicago. Though the fire was one of the largest disasters in the 19th century, the rebuilding that began almost immediately spurred Chicago's development in one of the most populous and economically important American cities. On the flag of Chicago, the second star commemorates this fire. The fire started about 9 p.m. on Sunday, October 8th, in a small barn that bordered the alley of DeKoven Street. The traditional account of the origin of the fire is that a cow knocked over a lantern in the barn, which made the barn catch on fire and go from flames. Michael Ahern was the Republican reporter that made the cow story, and he admitted later in 1893 that he made it up because he thought it would make a colorful copy. While the barn was certainly the first building to be consumed by the fire, the official report at the time stated whether it originated from a spark blown from a chimney on that windy night or was set on fire by human agency, we are unable to determine. The fire spread was aided by the use of heavy wood and timber for building, and a drought prior to the fire dried out the wood, which added with the strong winds, made the city go up in flames even faster. The city also made fatal errors by not responding quick enough, and citizens were unconcerned when it began. The firefighters that responded to the call also had a fire the previous day that they were tired from. Eventually the fire jumped to a nearby neighborhood and began to devastate mansions and other houses. Almost everything that crossed the fire's path was made of wood and had been dried out for quite a while. After 2 days of burning, fire helped douse the remaining fire. It is said that over 300 people died in the fire and over 100,000 were left homeless. The city's fire department did not receive the first alarm until a fire alarm was pulled at a pharmacy at 9:40 p.m. While the fire was still small, when the blaze got bigger, the guard realized that there was actually a new fire and sent firefighters the wrong way. The mayor had even called for surrounding cities to help, but at that point it was simply too large to contain. The fire destroyed the water lines, and the firefighters were forced to give up on the fire. As the fire raged through the central business district, it destroyed hotels, department stores, Chicago City Hall, the Opera House, and theaters.
Chicago was the perfect location, near the center of the country, the place where the waterways and the rails would all meet, perfect place for anyone or anything to get anywhere. It was like the point of the funnel that everything had to go through.
The city had to build and build quickly, and so they built of wood. It was quick, it was easy, and it was cheap, and there was all sorts of wood flowing into the city.
A lot of these buildings, although they had this hard, impenetrable shell of masonry, the inside was made out of wood. It was growing so fast, nobody ever figured out how to plan it in any cohesive way. So there really weren't a lot of rules.
There were homes next to lumber yards, next to mills, next to businesses. For the most part, homes and businesses were all jumbled together.
By 1871, Chicago was the fastest growing city in the world. The swamps by Lake Michigan had made visionaries into millionaires. But in the summer of 1871, fortunes changed as quickly as the weather.
It was exceedingly dry that summer and fall, and we'd had just over 5 inches of rain between July and September, which is about half normal.
winter is coming, so people are storing up wood, either coal or wood. So they had a supply of flammable material.
Fire was a real threat in Chicago. People were terrified of fire. It was a city built of wood, and there were lots of fires.
According to legend, on the evening of October 8th, Mrs. Catherine O'Leary is milking her cow in her barn at 137 West DeKoven Street on the city's west side. Around that time, a small fire ignites in the barn. What caused that fire is still being debated nearly 150 years later.
The one thing you can say for sure is it started in the cow barn behind the O'Leary home on DeKoven Street. That's for a fact.
Just before 9 p.m., O'Leary's next-door neighbor runs to the neighborhood fire alarm box to send an alert to the watchtower at the city courthouse. The night operator sends a telegraph to firefighters, but fails to notify the firehouse closest to the fire. By the time firefighters reach the O'Leary barn, about 20 minutes after the first alarm, the fire has spread throughout the block. The watchman rings the bell in the courthouse tower. The sound peals over the city. People look up to see the sky fill with flames. The wind pushes the fire north and east, all the way to the banks of the river.
They did not expect the fire would be able to cross the Chicago River, which is not a hugely wide river, but it had always been an effective barrier for fire protection.
But by 11:30 p.m., the river is in flames.
They had kind of an oily residue, and the Chicago River itself even caught fire from just kind of the grease and the things that were the pollutants on the water. So this was really kind of quite a fire when you even have the river itself burning.
After jumping the Chicago River, a firestorm tears through the city's business district. The heat helps the fire generate its own wind.
In those areas of extreme heat, the air is rising away from the fire. Air rushes in with great force, and it begins to spin. Essentially, you get rotary whirlwinds of fire, and they look like burning tornadoes.
Around 2:30 in the morning, the fire jumps the river a second time, and the wind sends fiery embers into the North District toward the city's only water pumping station. The wooden roof ignites. Soon, it collapses, knocking out the city's water supply. By 3:30 a.m., all hope of saving the city has gone up in smoke. During the night of October 9th, a cold front moves toward Chicago.
The temperatures dropped quite a bit from the 85 mark. It was only in the 50s by the 10th, and then they had some rain with that frontal system.
The cold front most likely moved in and caused this precipitation to occur over the region, over the city. So this rain event was most likely associated with an approaching cold front.